Well, first off, just your thoughts on not having Ricky again, and what are some of the solutions? Is that something where you're looking to short-term somebody in, or do you just work with what you have?
No, I mean, we had one really great day, I think, of 2026. I was in Hawaii with my family and woke up on the 2nd with the news about Ricky, and so obviously it's devastating. It's really difficult for the team, obviously difficult for Ricky with everything he put into his rehab. We just feel for him. The reality is in MLS, it's a DP league, and you only have 3 slots, and if we have the opportunity to replace Ricky for this year with the season-ending injury, we have to explore it, and we're doing that. But we also need to be mindful of long-term flexibility. We don't want to paint ourselves into a corner where we're going to have 4 DPs next year when Ricky comes back to full health. So it's a really difficult needle to thread, but we're trying to explore all options and work within the rules of MLS. But it's definitely a lever that we want to take advantage of.
And Joe Klaus, what's going on with that?
I wouldn't comment on sort of player conversations.
Last year, guys looked at the U22 and the DPs. Will you deviate from that? Still go with 3 DPs, you think, or add another U22, or how that possible?
It's a difficult model. If you go with a U22, you're probably committing to a longer term deal. These players don't come on short term deals, and then you've got that same issue of what do you do next year, right? So we have to balance the short term with the long term impact of the flexibility we're going to need in 2027.
Is there an update on
Yeah, Nasi's here. He's with the group. He's training. We're finalizing language in his loan extension. So confident that we'll have some good news on that in coming days.
No issues working with Botafogo to put some kind of transfer ban?
I think that's a question for MLS, right? Nasi's been here. Nasi's been with us, and again, that's one area where I'm happy to say let the league handle it, but the league has done a lot of business with Botafogo, and so I think that there's sometimes complications that arise from that and single entity.
Will, has there been any developments with negotiations with Diego Fagundes?
Haven't spoken to Diego. His father called me the other day, but we're just trying to prioritize our main roster build at the moment. I haven't spoken to Diego recently.
There's been a couple of new additions to the back line this year, and then there's obviously the announcement that Zonka departed. I don't know if that's been official yet, but are you anticipating any more new faces in the back line? There's been reports that perhaps that some center backs have equitable.
Again, wouldn't comment on speculation, but I haven't seen those. With respect to Zonka, the player and the club are mutually agreeing to part ways. We're finalizing paperwork for that. It hasn't been announced yet. Obviously, it's not finalized. We're really excited about having Jakob and Justin here. Those are 2 really solid MLS veterans, proven playoff experience, big game experience, and they join what we think is a talented group already. And so we feel really good about the group we have now and don't feel any need to add additional bodies.
In regard to Justin, there's been a lot of talk about his versatility. Mm-hmm. How do you see him fitting into the team? Do you see him more as that defensive midfielder or as a center back?
I think it's a great problem for Greg to have, right? I think he's a guy that's difficult to take off the field because he can help you in so many different ways, but he gives us the opportunity to box differently, so to speak. And so I think having versatility at the position allows you to open up different ways of playing, different styles, and he's just a really competitive guy. The other thing is we have a lot of games this year. We play a ton of games, and we need to have a deep roster so we can keep bodies fresh. Grinding guys down is difficult, and once you get into August and all that. We just prioritize having a deep roster and flexibility and guys who can do a lot of different things and guys who want to stay on the field.
Speaking of that deep roster, we saw some of the younger lads come through last year, like Carter Miller. Who are you excited to see from those younger players kind of try to step up and make a difference in the first team?
I think our entire group is really exciting. Last year, if you think about it, Harbor got his chance because Mauricio Cuevas got hurt, and we probably wouldn't have seen what Harbor could do if it wasn't for that. But we got to. Lucas Sanabria really had a tough year. He broke his collarbone. He couldn't. He showed up late to training camp. He hasn't had a full preseason with us, so I'm really excited to see what Lucas looks like with a year under his belt and a preseason. Same thing for Nasi. He showed up at the end of preseason. I think with all of these younger players, it's crazy to think of Mauricio as an older player or Elijah Winder as an older player, but we have a bunch of guys who are 23 and younger who are hungry and really got some good experience last year. And so I guess I just named everybody under 23, and I'll throw Ruben Ramos in there too. I think Ruben has worked really hard and put in a really good effort. So we're excited about the young guys we have, and they push the group forward.
Going back to Glesnes,
Yeah.
that's a massive pickup. I mean, he's as good a defender as we've seen in this league for the last 5 years. How does he transform what this team does defensively?
Yeah, I think what you get with Jakob, and I called him about 3 days after we finalized the trade and said, hey man, you're coming here, like you don't need to pay people to say nice things about you, because I was getting unsolicited glowing reviews from people that I haven't talked to in years, right? I think the last time they texted me was when we won in 2024. I think it's a testament to his character, right? He showed up here, he crushed our fitness test, right? You watch him training, he goes hard in every play. He's just a guy who's really serious about his football and competing, right? And that's what we like. I think he's got great versatility with his ability to hit longer balls, out of the back. It gives interesting options with our wing attackers. Greg will get into that in detail, I'm sure, later. He's a veteran. He's been part of really good teams, and I think it's a chance to get a really great player and put him into a really competitive environment. I think we're a very different organization than Philadelphia. I don't say that better or worse, but I think we just offer something very different, and excited to see what Jakob can bring to our group. But first, it starts with the character and the person, and then you get sort of on the field.
Yeah, I thought Philadelphia had the best back line in the league last year.
Gracias por tu tiempo. Háblanos primero que nada las decisiones del equipo, de cómo se tomaron y qué es lo que pensaron para llegar a ese punto.
Fue muy importante para nosotros reparar los lados flaquitos, los débiles, y claro que el defensa fue un lugar en que sentimos que pudimos hacer mejor el año pasado, temporada pasada. Entonces por eso hicimos los cambios para Justin Hack y firmamos a Jakob Glesnes, porque ellos vienen con experiencia de la liga, han jugado un montón de partidos acá y es cierto que pueden ayudar a un equipo muy serio en su defensa. Y también a reforzar el ataque, muy importante, especialmente sin Ricky. Había un lugar en que queríamos añadir dos personas antes de la noticia de Ricky, entonces ahora es como 2 o 3. Pero importante que podamos mejorar allá y como expliqué un poco antes en inglés, el año pasado recibimos un montón de experiencia en el mediocampo por los jóvenes. Entonces estamos muy emocionados a ver cómo ellos se desarrollan y cómo se vienen en el mediocampo, pero somos muy suerte, creo que aún no tenemos Ricky, todavía vamos a tener un grupo muy, muy profundo y con mucha calidad. Entonces,
¿y qué tanto han cambiado esos planes que tenían con Greg antes de que él anunciara nuevamente la nueva operación de Ricky? ¿Cómo han manejado esa situación?
No, reímos y dijimos que nunca hay días fáciles en este trabajo, y cuando tú piensas que estamos completos con el proyecto, algo se pasa así. Lo primero fue cariño para Ricky, entendiendo cómo es como persona, como jugador, sabiendo que él va a estar sufriendo por esas noticias. Pero lo mismo, siempre estamos preparados por el peor caso. Es un poco del lado flaco de nuestro trabajo, pero siempre tienes que estar pensando en lo más peor que puede pasar. Entonces fue ok, ¿qué vamos a hacer ahora? Tenemos una oportunidad a reemplazar ese lugar en el plantilla y tenemos que escoger la mejor opción para eso.
Por último, una plantilla que se está revitalizando con jóvenes. Obviamente todavía hay mucho que trabajar, pero ¿qué se puede esperar la afición del Galaxy para esta temporada? Nueva juventud, posibles sorpresas, ¿qué les puedes adelantar?
No, creo que un grupo diferente. Muchos jugadores nuevos, caras nuevos, algunos que estaban aquí que no están. Y creo que también hay algo diferente en estar seguro que Ricky no va a volver. Porque creo que el año pasado, y no es la culpa de nadie, pero había en la prensa un poco de una sensación que qué va a pasar cuando Ricky regresa. Eso puso mucha presión en Ricky, yo sé eso. Y también se pone presión en el grupo, porque siente que siempre hay algo colgando sobre su cabeza. Entonces, para estar bien claro que eso es el grupo que tenemos y los pedazos que añadimos, pero eso se crea un ambiente diferente. No sé si estoy explicando bien, pero creo que eso es lo que van a resonar, es un grupo diferente.
¿Y esta situación no le abriría quizás una nueva puerta a negociar, a continuar o volver algo para buscar con Diego?
Sí, es posible. Tenemos que explorar todas las opciones. La realidad es que por las reglas de la liga se abren puertas que son diferentes, entonces la posibilidad a otros jugadores o en otra estructura de contrato es abierto. Entonces siempre se cambian los planes y lo que es posible, y tenemos que ver, ok, ahora es posible hacer eso por algunos jugadores y tenemos que explorar todo.
How much work is to be done? How many players do you see bringing in, and within that group, how many are you on the path to maybe even close to?
Yeah, I wouldn't speak as to what we're working on, but I think certainly 2 attacking pieces would benefit the roster and give us the depth we need to compete in Champions League and in the season, the first half of the year. I think it's important to think of the season as kind of that first chunk of getting off in the right start in the league, but then also making a run to win the Champions League. And to do that, we have to travel to Panama. If we advance, we travel to Jamaica. You got to have a deep team. So we think at least 2 pieces to help.
Are you on a path with either of those pieces?
I would not say.
Further.
Yeah, I would not say.
Oh, I mean, we're not asking players' names. Just
No. We're looking to add 2 pieces. That's what I would say.
With Ricky out the whole season, from a business point of view, what can the fans expect for this season as his replacement?
Ricky's irreplaceable, right? I think that's the key thing. It's like we don't think that we can replace Ricky with any amount of money. And if we try to replace Ricky, we are going to lead ourselves into a really bad situation, because Ricky is one of one. What we need to do is identify the best player we can for the group, and that's a player both in terms of his quality and his character. And then it's a decision of, for Greg and his staff and our group to say, all right, with all these options, what do we think gives us the best chance to compete? Knowing that not having Ricky means you're going to play in a different way anyway, right? And that's where the opportunity of having a new group, I think, is really exciting, because everybody's coming kind of with a blank slate.
Well, 25 years ago today, the Galaxy won their first Champions Cup. How much of a priority is that tournament to go ahead and kind of propel the Galaxy back into the region's elite team?
I think the answer to that is a little bit of a Rorschach test. Everybody might have their own personal opinion. For me, it's the most prestigious tournament we could win. It's the most difficult to qualify for. I mean, not everybody is in Champions League every year, Champions Cup every year. You play against the best teams in the continent, right? It requires the most travel, it requires the most discipline, and the most commitment, I think. So I think that's really exciting and really important. The league is obviously very important. There are a lot of people who will say, hey, if the Galaxy don't win MLS Cup, it's a failure of a season. So I don't want to speak out of turn for anybody, but for me, it's incredibly important. And if we could ever qualify one day for Libertadores, I'd say that's the most important, right? But I think anytime you have a international or intercontinental competition, you're really you're raising the bar and what it means to win.
We're going to move to Zoom for a couple of questions. Josh Guessman, go ahead.
Hey, Will, thanks for talking to us. Appreciate
Josh.
it. Just quickly on Ricky and going back to the beginning, do you have clarity on what caused the second surgery there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what it was, but he was on the field in Barcelona, doing his return to play rehab program, right? And that was done. It's a program designed by our sports science team. I know that Ricky was, doing his exercises. He felt a tweak, but it's not like he limped off the field. My understanding is he felt something in his knee. The next day it was a little swollen. He went in to see Dr. Kugat, and they imaged him and said, "Oh man, this is ruptured." So, it was just standard on grass, return to play program.
Excellent. And then I know you talked a little bit about the defense and stuff, but sort of a defensive revolution or whatever you're trying to put in here. A lot of defenders, I think you talked about the flexibility for Greg, but what sort of spurred the idea that defense was a place that you guys had to invest in?
Goals allowed.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, thanks, Will.
Yeah.
Monica, go ahead.
Thank you, Jamie. Hola, Will, te saluda Mónica Delgado de paseinfiltrado.com. La última vez que conversaba contigo te preguntaba el caso de Diego. Sé que otros compañeros ya tocaron ese punto, pero tú me decías que había alguna posibilidad de conversar con él. Durante este tiempo, ¿has hablado tú con sus representantes sabiendo que Diego aún no tiene equipo? Si hay alguna posibilidad de regresar en esa temporada 2026 o completamente Diego está descartado en los planes de este año para el Galaxy.
No, como dije, no hemos hablado recientemente. Hay algunas llamadas esta semana que no han conectado, pero nunca diríamos no. Pero en este momento estamos explorando todo y con las reglas de MLS es como una rompecabezas a hacer todas las matemáticas y no sabemos en este momento cómo van a resolver todos esos. Entonces un poco de ninguna respuesta, pero lo más bruto que puedo hacer.
Okay. Did you have a follow-up?
Well, just with Ricky, so it's basically, you're starting from step one again?
Yeah, it's another repair. I think I don't want to speak for Ricky, but for anybody, when you've gone through it once, I think now understanding what's necessary and the way he's attacking it seems to be a little bit different. Not to say that he didn't attack it last year, but you get the sense now that he's a little further along than he was 15 days out of surgery last year, right? So, but yeah, it's a full repair and
dealing with, the frustration's just got to be off the charts.
Yeah, and he's as competitive as a guy as I've come across. Right? And you look at Ricky, and he is physically, he has no business being as good as he is, and you know how much it hurts him, and how much he loves being around the guys, and so. We're all here for him. He knows that. We all feel for him. That's why I said the first thing with Greg and I was just thinking about Ricky and how he's doing.
When do you expect him to be here?
We're still finalizing it, but I think at the end of the month or early in February.
Okay. Let's. One more?
Yeah. Well, as it pertains to roster construction, is the feeling let's try to get the best player we can, even if it's DP type signing, knowing that Ricky comes back in 2027, let's figure it out in 2027, or is it very much a consideration? We have to play within the league constraints now because we were planning for the future.
I would say that is the conversation, right? You essentially go one of two things. You can push all your chips in and say we'll figure it out later. That comes with a lot of risk, right? You lose potentially a lot of leverage, and then you are in a real difficult situation come January potentially, right? Is that worth it? Are there other options that provide you more flexibility? Is that flexibility better? I think our roster build will speak to that, but that's certainly the question that you have to have.
Okay. Thank you, Will. We
Thanks,
appreciate
everybody.
your time so much.